Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to this edition of Turnaround Marriage Live. And I just wanted to drop in today just to give a word of encouragement, really to speak to those that are feeling like, boy, our marriage is in a place of sickness. I'm in a place of sickness. Wait, it seems like maybe the marriage is sick and then I'm sick. It's hard to know. It's like one of those things where what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? So here I was sitting today and I'm thinking, wow, I'm finally back to normal. I've been sick. You can probably still hear it in my voice. A lot of my kids have been sick. It's been an interesting week. This is one of the first days that everybody actually went to school and everything's going back to normal. And I'm so thankful that I've been able to go to an amazing doctor that's been able to help me, that I was able to recover and get over the sickness without going through the antibiotics, without actually this time of year, every year for most of my life, I had to go to the ER to get antibiotics, sometimes in the drip, sometimes shots with steroids and all kinds of things. I was able to recover with nothing more than a few supplements. And it's really amazing to me what an incredible breakthrough I've been able to have, where in years past I was not able to. And it brought me to thinking about also in marriage, how once you can get healing, sure, you can still get sick. When your body can get healing, you can quickly get out of those places that you were stuck. And that was same with my own physical body. For many years, struggled with different things with asthma that would compile with other things. So here it is. Today I was talking to one of our amazing clients, and she said to me, it was so clear that she was just bathing in the love of God. And she said to me something that really caught my ear. She said, I feel like I can love my husband again. I feel like I can actually respect him. I didn't even think I could. I didn't think that was possible. And when they enrolled, they were in a place where they were really bitter towards one another, and their marriage definitely was sick. But you know what was very interesting? We talked about it today, that they were sick. They said, sometimes it was like a week would go by, or even a month would go by, and they wouldn't even be talking to each other. It wasn't even a place of cordiality. And think about that. When you're living in that kind of animosity and frustration in your marriage is absolutely sick. But there is no possible way when that's going on at home that you can show up in work, you can show up with your kids, not in that order, show up with friends, and live out the type of life that God has called you to if you're living in that place of sickness. And when you're there, it's not a beautiful place to be at all. In fact, it's a very painful place. But for Christians, it's even more hard, because you know how much God has loved you. You know that he has lavished his love upon you. You know that God has given you so many blessings. And you look at yourselves and you look at your predicament in your marriage and you think, how in the world did we get here? How is it that we know the truth and that we get stuck? I thought about a verse. It's one of my favorite verses, Jeremiah 31:3. It says this: the Lord appeared to us in the past, saying, I have loved you, my people, with an everlasting love. With unfailing love, I have drawn you to myself. Isn't that a great picture of what indeed God has done for us as believers? He has brought us into relationship with him, and he has loved us with an everlasting love. So why is it then, when we know these gospel truths, that you and I could hear that and know that that's the Bible, and yet know that you are in a place where you're going to be upset and frustrated with your spouse still? Why? Because you just are. Why? Because it's been that way. Why? Because we're in a fight, and you're in a place where you're sick spiritually and your marriage is sick spiritually. And when I think about it, when I go back years ago, when my wife and I really were struggling, and it was a really dark place, we were really, I'd say we were stuck. I knew what it should look like. I knew what the marriage should look like. I knew how grateful I should be. I knew the grace we should be showing each other, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't muster it. And I know my wife was in the same place. So where did the sickness come from? Was it from me, or was it from the marriage? Perhaps it was both at the same time. I think sometimes it's hard to even really discern that. But I know what was very clear is that we were stuck there. And when we were stuck there and our marriage was struggling, I know even as a pastor, I was holding God back. I was disconnecting myself from God. I was disconnecting myself from my spouse. And because of that, because that wasn't right, I was also disconnecting myself from people in my church the way I was supposed to serve and love them. I was disconnecting from my children. I was disconnecting from my family. In so many ways, that sickness was boiling over in a lot of other areas of my life. And I knew that I was in a place of great incongruence. But I also knew I didn't know how to get unstuck. I was like, I guess I got to read the Bible more. I guess I got to pray more. It felt so weird because I knew my wife was trying. She'd be reading her Bible and I'd be so mad. And she'd be so mad at the same time. And we're in the same room. And we're just grasping at how do we get out of this? I knew she'd go to church and have an experience with the Lord in worship. And yet, and I sometimes did too. And yet there was just this wall disconnecting us or between us. And we were disconnected from one another. And no matter what we seemed to do, nothing could break through. It also felt like this. It was like when we needed to act the part, like everything was okay, we could. If we had guests over, or if we were ministering to a couple whose marriage was struggling, we knew we had to act a certain way. We had to show up a certain way. We knew that whenever guests came to our house or when we were at church, we had to act the part. We knew in every way what it should look like. So where were we? We were stuck. We were sick. We didn't know how to get undone with where we were. And I think at the heart of it, it begins with this. We were not applying the gospel to our marriage. I believed the gospel. I believed that it was true, but we were stuck in fear, stuck in believing ultimately the lies of the evil one, that things were never going to get better, that they were always going to get worse, that we were stuck here, that he had us, that there was no undoing it for us. And it was some of the other beliefs. God really loves those other couples to give them deliverance, but maybe he doesn't really love me enough and doesn't love us enough that he's going to meet us in this season of need. Maybe he's not going to bring healing to our marriage. And guys, we were operating at a low vibration point. We were operating in a place of fear, frustration, anger, and I was letting my wife's worst affect me, and I was letting my worst affect my wife. And that is exactly where our marriage was, stuck in a place of sickness. My wife was sick. I was sick. We were sick together. And we needed to go back to the gospel. We needed to be reminded of what God said, not just about me, guys. I needed to be reminded of what God said about my wife. And she needed to be reminded of what God said about me. And we together needed to be reminded of what God said about our marriage. We were one of those people that we weren't giving up, even if we were miserable. We were never going to get divorced, even if it was torture here on earth. But I'm here to tell you that God did bring profound healing for us. In fact, it's hard to even remember those days in some ways because we were in a place of sickness for so long. And it just seemed like even when we got a little bit better, we had that relapse. And I'm here to tell you guys that what we finally needed for a breakthrough was someone else to look upon our situation and to call us up, to remind us of who we were, to remind us of what God said of us. And when we were reminded of that and started living there, intentionally living in a place of thankfulness in the gospel that God did give his only son for us not to have just eternal life, but to have life here and have it to the full, that God had greater things in mind for our marriage than to be just a struggle, that it was supposed to be a place of blessing and of intimacy and connection, of belonging. Guys, when we got beginning to get those steps of healing, everything changed, just like that amazing person I was sharing with you this morning, that amazing couple that's starting to getting the breakthrough of applying the gospel in their marriage. So my friends, wherever you are, the key for you, wherever you are, is to apply the gospel to your marriage in every way. And if you're thinking, wow, Scott, that sounds an awful lot like me, and I was in a place where I was really stuck, or you're in a place where you're really stuck like I was, or that Rachel and I were years ago, I want to encourage you to reach out. I want to give you a link today for our masterclass that talks about the 5 shifts that we've seen in couples that were able to get out of that place of being stuck and to get those breakthroughs. As well, you can always reach out at turnaroundmarriage.com/call to book a call. And what we do on that call is diagnose where you guys are, what's not working, where you're sick, where you know that God is calling you to be, what this marriage should be, and a path to get there. And if I can help you, I'm absolutely going to make that clear. But either way, guys, you need to be reminded today, just like I did, that we need to apply the gospel to our sick marriages, to our sick hearts. And by the power of God's Spirit within, He can and is more than capable of bringing about great healing and restoration in our marriages. So I hope that encourages you today. I hope you have an amazing day and an amazing weekend. God bless you. Have a great one. Oh, and by the way, one other thing, if you're not already in our Facebook group, Turnaround Marriage, just search that out. We're having a Valentine's Day giveaway. Just look for that little picture, and you can comment your Valentine's Day date ideas, and we'll be given a giveaway just before Valentine's Day. God bless you guys. Have a great one.